Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first monthly music club. We're so excited you're here. We're so excited to have our special guests, Kirsten Agresta Copely and Megan Metheney, here to talk about our two music club pieces this month. Kim, you want to introduce the first piece?
Yeah, just to back up a little bit, the we had the idea to do the monthly music club here at Harp Column Music, just to give people a way to focus on a piece. This kind of follows on the heels of our practice challenge for those of you who were participating in that in January. And for the first monthly music club pick, we decided to go with two original compositions from two Harp Column music artists that have been here for quite some time, mostly from the beginning of Harp Column music. So we're going to start with Kirsten Agresta Copely. And Kirsten is a Grammy nominated artist based in New York City. And Kirsten, you have performed with more stars than we could possibly mention here. But I'm going to name drop. I'm going to name drop just a few. I think you played with
Feel
Lady
free.
Gaga and Stevie Wonder and Beyonce and Florence and the Machine and more on and on. I'm going to stop there. But you are a prolific composer, and I think you have 16 top selling original compositions with us here on Harp Column Music. And so we thought you'd be a great person to kick off the series. And we chose your piece, Devotion. We kind of had a little February Valentine's theme in mind there with that one. And so we wanted you to tell us a little bit about this piece. Where did the idea come from?
Well, Devotion was actually composed in 2022, so it's a couple years old. I had just moved back to New York City the year before, and I'd been living in Nashville for 7 years prior to that. And the song was really an homage to the city that I love, and then where I felt like I was returning to my home. So devotion has a lot of meanings to a lot of people. It can be a romantic feeling towards a partner or towards a friend or towards a pet. There's lots of ways that this song can be thought of in terms of the word and the title. Um, and for me, it was a venture into trying to explore in my own way how to channel Ennio Morricone, who is one of my favorite composers. And of course, he passed in recent years. And it was just an opportunity to try to work on a piece that would bring in some of his harmonies and things and style, I guess I would say, in but with my own voice and with my own composition. So that's really how Devotion was born, and it's been a very popular release both with sheet music and also streaming as well. So.
Yeah, that's great. Kirsten, you mentioned your style, and that was actually the next question I was going to ask you. I know this is vague, but how would you describe your style?
Well, I think I crossed the line between neoclassical and, of course, New Age. And New Age is really where I spend the majority of my time composing because that's where my albums rest in, is the New Age ambient, genres. So most of the time I'm composing with the intent of leaving a lot of space in my compositions that leaves room for the effects and for the different layers of special sauce that gets added to the compositions in the mixing process. This particular song, of course, does not fall into either of those categories and is more on the neoclassical side. When it was released, it landed on Spotify classical new releases and was there for the first week of its release. So it did fall in a classical genre, so to speak. But I don't tend to write a lot of classical music or classically driven music. It's more, to me, it's more fun and it's more interesting to work with what I can create that's a little less structured, if you will, you know.
Yeah, that's great. And I have to say, I think this applies to both you and Megan, you both have such a way of really writing for the harp and, understanding just how to make the most resonant sounds. And yeah, it's just very enjoyable to play both of your pieces.
Thank you.
So Kirsten, though, can you tell us tell us a little bit more about your career and your life? Give us a typical day in the life of
Oh my
Kirsten. What would that be
gosh.
like?
Well, I think that depends on the day, certainly. On any given day, I'm maybe in my studio working on a new album, which is what I'm currently doing. I've been writing a lot right now, so I'm spending the slower months of the year with not as many gigs happening and dragging the harp around the city, spending more time creatively right now. But on any given day, I'm playing on Broadway. As you mentioned, I play backup for artists. There's a world of opportunity. It's just every day is different. So my career has taken me, I'm classically trained. I had both of my degrees, both bachelor and master's degrees from Indiana University with Suzanne McDonald. She was my mentor since the age of 11. And I really followed a career path with the classical performance for many years. Even after I moved to New York, I played a lot of recitals at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center, concerto solos, and lots of different things. And then I started feeling like freelancing was just the best option, especially in a city like New York, because there are so many opportunities, or there were at the time, lots and lots of different avenues that you could pursue here. And that's one of the things that charmed me about living here, was that I could be doing something different every single day and never get bored, So I think that worked with my personality quite well. And then in 2005, I started playing backup for an artist who's not very popular now. His name is Kanye West. And at that time, he was not the person he is now. And it was a lot more fun to work with him then. But that actually springboarded a lot of opportunities, because the hip hop world became very interested in using the harp in a lot of things. So that led to working with Beyonce and Jay-Z. And then, all the other artists followed that, in different platforms,
Yeah.
whether it be
I
TV.
I have to interject and ask, because I'm dying to know, who is your favorite artist to perform with?
Enya.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why?
Um, I think I was such a big fan of hers when I was growing up, and her music really influenced me as a composer as well. So meeting and working with her the very first time, I've worked with her several times, and she's probably the most down to earth and approachable of the artists that I've worked with, in the sense that, she's very shy, but she's also very ready to speak with you and carry on a conversation, whereas some of the artists keep their distance, and aren't quite as maybe personable with you when you're working with them.
Um, Thank you. It's so interesting to hear about, playing with these people that we all hear their recordings, and you hear harp and you wonder who that might be. And I think probably in a
Right.
lot of cases it's you. But going back to your compositions, if people are just discovering your music, which maybe some people are through this monthly music club, what would be the next piece you'd recommend to them to give a try that we have available here on Harp Column Music? We're going to link your
Oh,
whole.
I think one of the fan favorites is Message from the Trees. That's always a popular one. And there's a short classical piece that people like that's called Inside Looking Out. Um, that was also, one that was written early on when I was still kind of working in that neoclassical genre. But those are very harpy. There's another one called Onde. It's Onde. It's an Italian word. It means wave. And that one is very harpy as well. It has a lot of arpeggiated patterns. And, most of the music that I write, unfortunately, is not particularly lever friendly. And I'm sad to say that it doesn't apply to a lot of lever harpists because I do tend to work with a lot of modulations and a lot of key changes and accidentals and things that make it really more suited for pedal harp. Um, so I'm sorry for that to the lever harpists that are interested in my music, but there are some that work. And off the top of my head, I can't remember what's on Harp Column music that is lever harp friendly, but I'm sure a quick search on the platform would reveal those. So.
Yeah, thank you, Kirsten. I'll take a look right now and see if I can pull that link up for people. But if we're going to move on because we do have our next guest, Megan Metheney, who does specialize in a lot of music for lever harp. So let's turn things over to her. And Allison, would you like to introduce Megan for us?
Yeah, absolutely. If you are a longtime reader of Harp Column magazine or are on Harp Column music, downloading music much at all, then you're probably already familiar with Megan. She's been a contributor to the magazine for years and has some of our favorite pieces on Harp Column music. So we're really thrilled to have her here today. The piece that we're featuring in the club this month is her composition that she wrote for our Tear Out tune in this current January-February issue of Harp Column magazine. So if you are a subscriber to the magazine, that comes free in your issue. So you can check it out there. You don't even have to buy it. You already own it. And it's a really kind of neat, innovative piece, an idea for a piece. So Megan, do you want to tell folks about the idea for the piece, how you came up with it?
Yeah, well, it's called Back to Center and Back. And the idea is that you play the piece forward, going from section to section until you reach the end, which I call the center. And then you slowly, or you work your way backwards, playing each section until you come back to the A section or the beginning. And the idea is that this piece can be taken as a moment of meditation or just a moment by yourself to find your breath and go back into this, even the center of who you are as a musician, as a person, and then come back out into the real world again. So it's playing this piece forward and then backwards, back to center and back.
Yeah. And one thing that you wrote about this piece in the magazine was that so many times we learn music to play for other people, and you wanted to write something that harpists could just play for themselves. So is that one of the things that you wanted folks to take away?
Well, yeah, for me, in composing this piece, it was definitely kind of just a very intimate time with my harp. So often we are learning pieces with the intention to share them and to play them, to perform them. And this felt more like a piece. I mean, it can be performed, but just to kind of recenter yourself with the harp. And yeah, it seemed more of like a piece that you could use for your own personal growth rather than something that you want to shout from the mountaintops. But just, yeah, a time by yourself. When I was writing this piece during a retreat, a weekend retreat, and so I was in this meditative, mindset of just growth and listening, and so the music kind of reflects that in a way of just not necessarily wanting to share it with millions of people, but yeah, really directed to the harpist. We play so often just because it's a beautiful instrument, and I think this can be a piece for those moments when we just want to play for ourselves.
Yeah, that's really neat. And it's if anybody hasn't tried it, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful piece and a lot of fun to play. And I do want to clarify, because when you first told me what you were going to do here and you said you're going to play the piece backwards,
right?
I thought, backwards? No, it's each section you play moving backwards. You're not
In reverse order.
actually playing
Yeah.
note for note backwards, just so that doesn't.
You play the sections in reverse order. That's a better way.
That might be a more accurate way to describe it. But it's a really fun experience. So Megan, you are originally from Arizona, I believe.
Yep.
But now you live in France. Tell us about what you do.
Well, I moved here about 15 years ago with the intention of staying for 2 months. I was doing an internship, or wanted to take lessons with the French harpist Elisabeth Fontaine-Binoche. So I had come wanting just to spend a couple of months learning from her, and one thing led to another, and doors kept opening to stay here. So I have, and this is where I consider home now. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's a nice place to call home.
Yes.
So tell us about a day in the life of Megan. Performing, teaching, family.
Yeah. A bit of all those things. Most of my professional time right now is teaching. It's teaching. I love and I'm passionate about teaching. So from my home studio, and also at the conservatory in Cannes. And I teach piano and harp. I also try to carve out time for creativity, like Kirsten is doing now, just being able to write or compose, improvise, develop some ideas and projects. And I'm also a freelance harpist, so things that change, daily and through the season, either playing solo or in small groups, duets and trios, or other small orchestras in the area. And I love playing both pedal and lever harps. So, it's different projects that change quite often. That suit me as well. So it's a mix of things. And I'm also, I'm a mom of 3. My girls are 13, 11, and 8. So that also keeps me busy. And that's my day.
Yeah, that's a very full day. It's like so Megan, if people have tried Back to Center and back and love it, as I'm sure they will, any other compositions that you would suggest trying next? And I do want to note that it is playable on lever and pedal harp, so so if people are looking for lever specific music there.
Well, there are a couple that are short pieces, a couple of pages, 2 or 3 pages. There's Lettre d'amour, which is love letter. It's playable on either harp, and it's fairly simple and straightforward. That has a light melodic line, and then the right hand that doesn't move much at all. That one could be complementary for another next piece after this one. And I'm thinking also of one for cello and harp that I wrote called Mon Souffle, which is my breath, which is kind of in the same vein of a lot of space and meditative, and there's even a section where you can improvise, so for lever, pedal harp, and cello.
Very cool. I wasn't aware of that one, so I'll have to check that out. That sounds great. Okay, I don't believe, Kim, we don't have any other specific questions in the chat. I know Annette she's adapted Devotion for lever harp, which is very cool.
Yeah, and just to remind everybody, we really encourage your comments. All of our Harp Column music product pages have a place to add comments, and our blog has a place to add comments. And we also have a Harp Column Facebook group. So we'd love to have you continue the conversation in any of those places to keep it going. And if you haven't yet signed up for reminders, let's see, Allison, can you find that link? We'll be sending out an email at the end of every month with our picks for the coming month. So we're right now finalizing our decisions for the March monthly music club picks, and we'll have those ready to share with you in about a week or so. And we'll be sending out an email. So if you'd like to get that reminder, be sure to sign up. And check the blog and look out for our Facebook and Instagram posts, and we'll be giving you a lot more insight on the Harp Column Music Monthly Music Club. Anything else to add, Allison?
No, just big thanks to Kirsten and to Megan for writing these beautiful pieces and sharing them with us. They're both just so much fun to learn, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everyone for being here.